good riddance. Is you kidding? Bid the forbidden. As it was written, you overbidding. With the heathens, karma is a bitch, so how you living? Pray for my enemies, unforgiving. Cast the pearls on hog moms and chitlin'. If it's too hot, get your ass out the kitchen. Finger licking good, good looking. Stewing in the stew, I'm cooking. You psyched out, paranoid and shookin'. Shook the table, babes, I'm booking. Get prepared for this ass whooping. Listen to the words being spoken. You were talking, I'm awake and woken. While I'm spitting this, got your spit, got choking. Era up, a glimpse in my world, eyes shut open. Parallel in my mind, I'm chosen. Reverse the time, heart frozen. Antarctica, cold as ice. Casting lots, rolling dice. Mean as nails, I'm nothing nice. They persecuted me like they rejected Christ. All right. Welcome to Mouth Off with Meika, where we tackle the most pressing issues of our time with the people who are making a difference. Today, we have a very special guest, Demus, a prominent educator and advocate for Black nationalism. Pan has been at the forefront of efforts to integrate Black nationalist principles into education, aiming to empower and inspire the youth. Thank you so much for joining us today, Demus. How are you doing today?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm doing well. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Pick up.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate you for coming here. So let's just get a little background. Can you start by telling us a bit about your background and what motivated you to become an advocate for Black nationalism?
Yeah. People in the U.S. specifically, Black folks in the U.S. have a very obvious look at racial differences, right? And what could be called racial oppression from the oppressor class, specifically like police brutality, being unjustly dealt with in courts, overly or under medicated in the health system. So like we as Black folks in the Western, I'm not in the States, right? But in the Western world, you know what I'm saying? We all have that experience. And growing up, I saw that and had questions on how we could fix that. And my parents were both involved in, activism, what you could call civil rights or Black rights, specifically focused on children. So coming up with them as my parents, and having my own questions as an adult, that just it seemed like a natural thing for me to do.
And it's so funny, and this is a little bit off of script here, but today is Juneteenth.
Yeah.
This is like the best time to have this kind of conversation, right?
Perfect
time. Before I even get into my questions I have pre-written, I do want to know, how do you feel about Juneteenth? Because I've seen Charleston White say something crazy about it, and I'm just like, I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Well, going back from, I'm 46, right? So going back from my childhood, I remember us saying, why don't we have any federal holidays, right? We all were saying that. And so now that there is one, it really shouldn't even be a whole bunch of conversation, honestly. But now when you deal with the reasons why they did it, you know what I'm saying? That may be whatever, you know what I'm saying? But then dealing with Black nationalism, we're supposed to have our own anyway. So if you was celebrating the Emancipation Proclamation and that time of freedom from emancipation from slavery, we should have been doing that anyway. And then like Malcolm X's birthday or Marcus Garvey's birthday, like these days, August 31st, which is in the Constitution of the UNIA, that's a holiday for Black folks all over the world. So if we celebrating our things anyway, separate from the states and countries that we live in, they would have no choice but to bow to our calling it a holy day or a holiday, if you understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, for those that's unknowing, can you just give us a little definition or your definition of what Black nationalism is?
Absolutely. It is our own everything at a fundamental level. Our own healthcare, our own security, police force, defense systems, just like any other nation has. Um, right? Even though not all nations have armies and police forces. Just, you know what I'm saying? And so when we talk about us as a Black nation worldwide, it's similar to how I would say, like, let's say the Hebrews say that they are Israel, no matter where the landmass is, right? So it's the same thing with the Black nation. We are one worldwide underneath the banner that was provided in 1920, which is the red, black, and green flag.
Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with the Republic of New Africa?
I am, yes.
Oh, okay. I was just asking because it reminds me of some of the things that they would say. I don't think a lot of people know about them as much. Like the black, like we know about the Black Panthers and everything, but I don't think a lot of people know about the Republic of of New Africa as much. But
It's an interesting concept. It is definitely, I'm not sure if I'm all the way aligned with all of their goals, right?
mm, mm,
Um, but their fundamental principles and what they're really talking about, please. I mean, you can't argue with it.
yeah. What are some common misconceptions about Black nationalism?
That we are anti other things. Right now, Black nationalism, well, not even right now, Black nationalism as a whole is not the same as what people look at when they see white nationalism. White nationalism is about domination, it's about oppression. Black nationalism is about unification and stability, right? It's about making sure that we worldwide are able to meet the other nations at the world table at the same level. That was Marcus Garvey's goal, and it's been the goal of the UNIA this whole time.
I think you kind of touched on this question a little bit because you were talking about your parents and everything, but I would just want to ask it again. I'm just going to ask it. How did your personal experience shape your views on Black nationalism?
Um, well, to give a different answer from what I said earlier, it's really it is experience, right? And
Mhm.
so now in my own personal travels and journey or whatever you want to call it, trying to figure out what is the answer to this. Like I see that Black people worldwide are going through it, not just here in the West, but in Africa, in Europe, in Asia, wherever we are, we on the bottom somewhere. And when we come together with people from other parts of the world, with Black people from other parts of the world, if nothing else, we have that shared experience. And so I would always try and figure out how we can move move past that, get over that, whatever the words would be, right? As a child, I'm thinking this because I had an interaction with a lot of different cultures and people as a young person. So recognizing this, it's because it's hurtful as a child to see everybody have a connection to a culture, and
Mhm.
then our culture is always depicted as ghetto and hood or whatever, right? Ratchet, you know.
Mhm. Well, I love those. I love those things about us. I love
No, we,
ghetto ratchet stuff.
me
Um,
too.
and then too, I'm the type of person that would drink Kool-Aid out of a pickle jar. You feel me? So, but that's resourceful. That's just us being resourceful, and we are the most creative people on earth. I done seen a girl hair made out of Skittles and stuff. Just stuff
Mhm,
like that.
mhm.
So, it kind of this is just us talking at this point. I'm not asking no questions right now, but like I'm thinking about the same things too, right? That's kind of like the path that I'm also on. And what I realized is that, okay, we are a dispersed nation because we're all over the world, like you said. And I feel like one of the key problems is the lack of unity. Like, we're trying to know who started this and who started that, or who did this and who did that. And then I don't know if you're familiar with Tariq Nasheed, but he talks
Yep.
about tether, tethers. That's like people that are not FBA, foundational Black Americans, or are descendants of American slave trade. They'll come here and they will try to speak for us, but even though they might have similar experiences where they're from or whatever, they don't have the exact same experience where we from. So that kind of makes it different. I just think that the answer would be is like to meet on some type of common ground, but it's just too it's like it's just too hard for us. I don't know, why is it so hard? Why do you think it's so hard for us to come together?
Well, it is the crabs in a barrel mentality. Unfortunately, we do find ourselves in a barrel, and those of us that are ambitious want to get to the top and do whatever they can to get to the top. Sometimes that's just based on survival, and they can't even help that. But sticking with the analogy, we do have to step back and ask the question, how did we get inside of a barrel, right? So it's not just so much about us trying to figure out how to live in here, but we have to, understand the paradigm that we are inside of, and understand that it's not a natural state for crabs to be inside of a barrel. Check. So the division is caused amongst us sometimes unwillingly and unknowingly, but then we get caught up in these different systems, and they become so much of our personality that we then find ourselves pushing our family away. As a Garveyite, as a UNIA member, I have had conversations with FBA folks,
Hmm.
and they feel like people are trying to take away from their legacy, let's say, right?
Hmm.
And they got to understand that if we have our own worldwide system, we can help facilitate and make sure the specific people that's supposed to get whatever get it. It's power in numbers. That's common sense, right?
Right.
Even if you say that a foundational black or ADOS is a different nation than the Pan African nation, we still in the same situation underneath this oppression worldwide. And the unification, I'm rhyming right now, bars. And the
I see. I hear
unification,
you.
okay, is the solution though. I mean, it's literally the only solution. When you see other nations that are underneath oppressive regimes, the only way out is allying with other nations. So we see we have multiple divisions amongst us as a people worldwide. Now we need to sew together the allyship between us based on race alone. We don't need nothing else. I don't need to agree with you on nothing else. But we gonna make sure that folks that look like us not gonna go through this no more. You feel me?
Right, right. But then you still have those token Negroes. That'd be the problem. It'd be the
If you
ones
create
that
the
look like
system,
us. That
but if
that
you
that be the fall sometimes.
agree, no, every time, not sometimes, it's them every time.
Mhm.
And my point is, if we create the system that is prepared for that, then we would have a solution to deal with that. But we know we have the history of what sellouts and people do to undermine the mission. Now we have to build knowing that and put in the safety guards to make sure it don't happen in the future. Otherwise, we just throwing our hands up and just saying it can't be done. And I refuse to accept that as a black man standing on the shoulders of the ancestors that I stand on. You feel me?
I feel you. I get it. I'm actually married to an African. So, and one of the biggest misconceptions that I see going around now is that Africans don't like black folks. you know, and they adore us. They mimic our everything that we do. They love us. It's not that many that I met because I went to school with a lot of them, and
Hmm.
I'm in their community a lot, you know,
Yep.
by being, you know, married and stuff, and they adore African American people or whatnot. So when we start putting out those narratives, like even though I like some of the things Tariq Nasheed said, I hate when he does that tethering thing. Like, stop doing that, because those are, some of them are our allies, you
Hmm.
know, and it creates a division, you know. So I that's all I want to say about that. And
But
I think
to that point, real quick. So
mhm,
now it, they've already got in the FBA breakdown what requirements you'd have to meet in order to fit that. So, like, someone coming from Africa right now
mhm.
couldn't even fit those things. So it should. Why are we still talking about it if not to keep promoting a division? You understand?
Mhm. Right, right, right. And see, I think that the reason being is because I guess the FBA conversation comes up when it has to do with the reparation, the talk of reparation. So, you know,
Right, but
I
somebody fresh off the boat from Nigeria would
mhm,
not be able to accept said check. You understand?
mhm,
Like, even if it happened tomorrow, they
mhm,
they wouldn't be able to do it based on the guidelines that have been set. So the conversation and the narrative is a little bit for attention.
mhm,
Because people do like conflict and arguing, and well, I'm a ADOS and you a Hebrew, so whatever, people like that, so they're keeping it going. But in all reality, the unification would get the money if getting money was what you was planning on doing.
right, right, right. And see, I also think, like, if it was up to us to get reparations, and just for lack of better words, just to, you know, those that are not FBA should still help us to get that, to strengthen the cause anyway. You know,
Precisely,
um,
precisely. And just one point, that is the UNIA position,
mhm, mhm.
to assist any one of us worldwide to get whatever coming to them.
Right, because it ain't like that. It's not like that African wasn't raped of all of his jewels and pillaged. It's not
Come on.
like the Caribbeans wasn't, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
everybody deserves reparations, but they're trying to figure out who owes who and this and this and that. Okay, well, let's just start with the French, the Greek, all those people, you know, those European people. They colonized all over the world.
Hmm.
So let's just start with that. The Roman Empire. Let's start there. But I mean, now I'm getting off track. Okay, let me get back to the question. So, how do you see Black nationalism playing a role in education of today's youth?
Excuse me. Primarily in their everyday life. Um, Understanding self-love, understanding self-reliance, uh, history of our people, whichever side of the world you want to claim, both of them should be taught. Um, and with that knowledge, the more you know, the better you are. And the fact that a lot of Black history hasn't been taught, not only because of racist white people, but because of Black people who have been ashamed of their history. Hello?
I'm here.
Now, no, that wasn't even for you. That's whoever
Oh,
wasn't listening.
oh,
Okay?
Carla, are you
Because,
listening?
okay,
Mhm,
because we have them sellouts that you was just talking about are very much at work right now, trying to make sure that Black history, Black empowerment doesn't happen. They don't want that. They are fine with all of Black history being completely unwritten. They're fine with it. They would love it to be nothing about race. How many times do you hear Black people say to you, "It's not about race," right?
mhm.
We see it all the time, and the underlying psychology behind that is a self hate that stems from childhood. That
Mm-hmm.
same hurt that I was telling you about before. Like seeing a world where your people can't come up from the bottom. And ain't nobody really trying to do it. When you look at all the elders, I just had a conversation about Juneteenth today, right before this call, as a matter of fact, where they were talking about, is the Juneteenth celebration a way to keep us docile? And in all reality, in some ways, it is, because we accept now the fact that we have the celebrations and the holiday and think that's all we needed. When in fact, that type of thing should be happening all year round. Every other week, it should be some similar something dealing with Black history, dealing with Black unity. These other races have this. They have it every 2, 3 months. They got something. Look around, whatever city you live in, you're gonna see the Italian this, the Greek that, the German this, the you know what I'm saying? You're gonna see it if you look for it. The reason that you don't already know about it is because you're not German, Italian, etc. Right? But we're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to have our own things year round where all of us come together to the point where we're sharing ideas, passing information from one city to the next state to the next country. So all of us know the same page that we all on, and we can move accordingly. But
Right.
people don't want to do that because now individualism gets pushed to the side. So you're not getting all the props that you wanted. Now it gets pushed to the side. You're not getting as much money as you thought gonna get put to the side for the sake of generations that ain't even been born yet. And you're not willing to make that sacrifice. So we gonna sit here in this mess still. That
Right.
type of thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
I got
no,
off topic.
no, you on topic. This your show. And I'm just here to navigate you through it. Um, I get it. And I know you, I don't know if you believe in Jesus Christ or you're atheist or not, but I think it's called Christ consciousness, and that's what we lack, the Christ consciousness. And I'm not talking about Christ as the figure or the person. I'm talking about being self-sacrificial. Like instead of thinking about you as an individual, think about us as a whole, And so I think that has to happen. I think which he is an atheist. His name is Billy Carson. He
Mhm.
talks about the Christ consciousness or whatever, and that's because he tried to say that the Bible wasn't literal, was more what's the word I'm looking for? Uh,
Metaphorical.
Metaphorical. So he was basically talking about like the second coming of Christ is when we have that Christ consciousness and that sense of unity and coming together and being self-sacrificial. That's his ideology. But I was just throwing
Mhm.
that out there.
Check. And
Um,
to answer your question, I am an atheist.
mm,
Um, Another reason why I try to do public speaking is to give perspective from a Black atheist perspective. But go
mm.
ahead. What were you saying?
Oh, I was gonna ask the next question, which I think you kind of touched on it, but can you share some specific strategies or programs that have been effective in integrating Black nationalism? I mean, Black nationalist principles into the educational system. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Mhm.
Specifically into the public education system, I could start there. Um, in several cities, I've given speeches to to school, assemblies, right? For their Black History program. Um, what I try to do when I do that is give some history of the city, some Black history of that city, and then I tell the children to go find some Black history in their own family. Now, obviously, sometimes in these speeches, it's not just Black children in the audience, and the teachers most times aren't, right? However, they all understand the need for what we're doing. And it always gets me when I see the Black teachers sort of cringe when I get to certain points of dealing with Black nationalism, the need for us to have our own. The Black teachers and some of the older Black students cringe. But the white children and the white teachers like, yeah, You think you should? Think it's a good idea.
It is.
Which shows the self-hate and the sickness that we in. That's something that Brother Malcolm would always talk about. We in a condition, where we don't even feel like we deserve to have our own something, let alone have it and manage it and make it successful. You
Right.
understand?
Mm.
And I forgot the question.
I'm gonna just go to the next one.
Oh
It's
wait, no. I remember. Wait, one of you said what tools have we using, right? So the
like
other thing
okay,
that
so like in the past, what has been effective in integrating black nationalist
right.
principles into the educational system?
I was trying to give you a history of my own personal experience with that. So I
Mm,
also have written several books. I haven't written a children's book yet, and that was the next thing that's coming. I've put out to three different UNIA divisions, youth division, um, crossword puzzles and little games and stuff for the children that just give them little word recall stuff dealing with Black nationalism. Again, dealing with their city, Black nationalist heroes, specifically Garveyites from their city, that gave up everything for Black nationalism. And then you got all types of other different historical things. Bill Cosby actually, funnily enough, has an awesome video back in like the early 80s where he was introducing some Black history. And I think things like that, Jawanza Kanjufu and people like that were able to force Black history into the public eye to the point where they had to start making some exceptions. But recent times, specifically in the US, they're trying to ban certain books and rewrite certain histories. And again, you keep watching the Black folks that's okay with it. Uh-oh.
I was
Hello.
muted. I'm sorry, I'm over here talking muted. Okay. So, and I was trying to look for I was trying to look for this video that I wanted to share with you and get your opinion on it. But once I find it, I'll bring it up. What impact have you seen Black nationalism have on young people you've worked with? I think you answered that a little bit. Have you?
Um, Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Go ahead.
Okay. One of the things is when we go out in uniform, right? So the children see us in uniform, and you should see their faces, like the inspiration, of just be like, yo, Black men and women in uniform, and they talking about us like this. Like you can see their chest poke out. That alone is, it makes it worth doing what we do. But then children, like my own child, who's now 23, can rattle off certain things from Black history. It's just like, yes, I did what I was supposed to do. Certain programs that have been put in place that are still moving, you know, um, just different youth programs that I was involved in that have now been able to produce children who've graduated high school who know what does the flag mean? Where is the UNIA in your city? Is there one? And if not, how can you help make one? Like, what do we do to make the unification and our people happen? You know what I'm saying? That our people coming up happen. And it's amazing when you see the responses of children that were actually paying attention, especially the ones that have grown a few years and have now started a business and it's Black centered, and it's, the girls have natural hair products, or the guys are doing some, anything dealing with just for our people though. You know what I mean? It's just awesome to see that.
Right. I was about to ask, can you share a success story that stands out to you when it comes to Black nationalism?
Not anything specific, for a couple reasons, but I will say personally a success story. I was involved in two different UNIA divisions um, development, right? I was involved in the process. And to be able to see those divisions still being successful is excellent. Um, Yeah. So success stories, the biggest success story I will say would be Kwame Nkrumah, who was able to liberate Ghana, put up the black star on his flag in honor of the UNIA and Marcus Garvey. Um,
Mm.
that is probably, well, maybe Haiti, the
I
Haitian
was about to say
Revolution.
Haiti, you know. I was about to say, I'm like, you don't forget about Haiti.
And so let me go Haiti number one,
Mm,
uh, Ghana number two, Ethiopian land grant, the Shashamane land grant. That was a
mm,
major one.
mm.
Yeah,
What are some of the biggest challenges you face in promoting Black nationalism?
black people,
Just like that.
just like that.
Why? What can you just be a little bit? Can you
Like
elaborate?
absolutely. Like
Mm,
I was saying, in these conversations, and because I've done public speaking in different places, it's white folks sitting right there, and they'll be enthralled with the conversation. They'll be completely invested, and afterwards they'll have questions, and they'll be nodding their head the whole time, like mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And right next to them will be a black person that's sitting there sweating. Can't believe that I dare say these words in public.
mm,
And it's embarrassing. It actually is embarrassing. Because again, we up in here in uniform, preaching the gospel. You feel me? The Gaviate gospel. You supposed to be the one. That's supposed to be like right on. Let's go. You hear the old tapes, the Gavi speaking. And
mm,
here I got these people who are now afraid to rock any boats because of their relationship with their white friends, white coworkers, or whatever. When they don't even realize the white coworkers not only don't care if we had our own something, they would most likely support the idea,
mm. Well, if they cool,
especially if.
yeah.
Go ahead. What was you about
Yeah,
to
no,
say?
no. I was just adding if they cool, yeah, they'll support it.
Right, I was going to say, especially if they're your friend. Like, what are you
Mhm,
talking about? What are you talking about? When we say so, like a white person got ancestry from Ireland, right? So they're
mhm,
Irish, whatever.
mhm,
They know that. They go home at dinner time, Thanksgiving, Christmas time. They talk about the old country. Same thing with Italians. Same thing with you remember Golden Girls? Sophia used to talk about, think of it, Sicily, 1965, right? All the
right.
time, it's natural for them to talk about their ancestry and history. They pass down heirlooms all the time. What do we talk about?
Whips and chains.
Talk about it. If we're not avoiding that completely
Hmm.
to the point where we don't even have no history. I heard somebody tell me one time, shit, I come from Alabama. That's
Mm,
it. My family's from Alabama. And I'm like, but like he wasn't trying to tie it to no Native American tribe. He was definitely avoiding Africa. He was avoiding everything that didn't start from his grandparents.
mm.
And it's
Yeah.
like when you can do that in your brain, that's a psychological issue.
Hmm. Because I'm thinking like Black nationalism, right? And I see that there's a lot of different groups within the Black community. Do you consider like the Nation of Islam, the Hebrew Israelites, um, the Rastafarians, the Pan Africanists, and the Kemetic? Do you consider them Black nationalists as well?
I'm trying to figure out how I can answer this without getting.
Well,
Okay.
because the goal is similar. Like I think they all have the same goal. It's just they have and a lot of similar principles as well. It's just I think it's just that the main thing that causes division is a belief.
Right there. So I would say that we have a lot of similar principles, but we do have a different goal. So the goal of religious groups, organizations, quote unquote nations, is a religious endgame. So that means the Nation of Islam or Hebrew Israelites, their goal is whatever the books tell them to do, right? Um, Again, without getting too controversial, the goal of the UNIA is for you to believe and practice whatever you believe and practice, as long as your focus is Black people being uplifted and liberated. Unfortunately, now this is where my personal atheism comes in, right? Sometimes religious belief runs contrary to that, which is fine, because if it stays in the realm of belief, then that's fine. But once we bring it into the real world, so Garveyites, we say race first, right? We say it as a greeting to each other. Hi, how you doing? Race first, brother. How's everything? I've said that to people and they change it to God first, or Jesus first, or Allah first. I've had all of them. Now, the problem with that is, if you say your God is first, that means homeboy over there, God, got to be second or third. So you're immediately causing a division by bringing your religion into the game. Malcolm X has a quote in the famous speech, Ballot or the Bullet, where he says, you know, you can believe whatever you want. You could be Christian and take Black nationalism. You could be Muslim and take Black nationalism. You can be atheist and take Black nationalism. Whatever you do, leave that outside. But when we come in here, we Black first. And that needs to be the focus. So when we talk about the other, I'm not going to necessarily call them nations in this regard, because when we talk about is actual government structure to, you know, to literally, Garvey back in the day petitioned the UN for the four different nation states in Africa, right? The ones that the Germans used to own. So the goal is for us to be a full blown nation recognized, you know, on the world stage. That's not necessarily everybody's goal, right? Some folks genuinely can't wait for Armageddon.
Armageddon.
Yeah.
How do you respond to critics who argue that Black nationalism is divisive?
That's like saying unity is divisive. Because Black nationalism, true Black nationalism, is inclusive of the different ideologies that we all adhere to, right? The moment you exclude one of them, you're not really talking about a nation. Like, you got to look at, just because we not right now doesn't mean we not an actual nation. So when we get to the point where we want to be, we will have to have things in place for all the different ideologies that we adhere to. We're going to have to be able to deal with each other righteously. You know what I'm saying? We can't have division amongst what is a true Black nationalist. I hear a lot of times people try and gatekeep what Black nationalism. Well, you can't be in a nation if you go that. That's not righteously dealing with your race, because it's race first. As long as the person ain't doing something that's actually selling out the race, we're gonna have to figure out a way to deal with them. That's just what it is. Everything else is trying to put our own things on, you know what I'm saying, the liberation of our people. And it ain't about us. It's about the liberation of our people.
Understood. Like, so how important is it for us to know our history?
It's the only thing. Garvey say a people without knowledge of their history is like a tree without roots. It might as well not even exist. Like, literally. Like, these Black folks that's purposely trying to let things be erased from history, are okay with those people in history not exist. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you know that the people, think about the Haitian Revolution that we was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
People are fine with those righteous brothers and sisters that did that righteous work being completely erased from history. Do you
Mm.
know the depth of that?
No,
The
I
person
don't.
that's, think about that for a second. The person
Mm-hmm.
that is okay with the Haitian Revolution being forgotten, especially, especially because of a religious reason. Now, understand the Haitian Revolution was based on a Vodun
Voodoo.
ritual,
Yeah, yeah, voodoo.
Ifa ritual, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've had the conversation with believers of the Abrahamic faith who
Mm-hmm.
believes that that was an evil act.
No. Oh well, I mean, you're talking to one, and that considers herself an Israelite, and I
Oh
don't
yeah,
think
no, I
that.
didn't figure you. I didn't figure you was one just because you brought it up. You the one that brought up the real life religion. So yeah,
No,
but
I'm just saying, like, I don't think that it was an evil act. In fact, I think that a lot of our ancestral practices that we turn away from has been demonized by oppression. So we're still brainwashed into thinking that voodoo and Ifa and all that stuff is evil, but we have yet to really dig deep into it and do the history on it and connect all this knowledge that's been written down and through all these books. It's not just one book; it's a bunch of books that's written, and you could just connect the dots on that and just see. But I'm not gonna go too deep in that because I was working on a show myself, uh, showing how a lot of our ancestral practices have been demonized and how like a lot of black women, they're turning into tarot cards and then witchcraft, but it's not, they calling it witchcraft, but it's really alchemy, you know what I mean? And it's
okay,
really science, it's alchemy, it's so many things, right? And so just me being a Israelite, I don't think it was an evil thing done. I think they just used the power of their God self, because even in the scripture it says ye are gods, and they realized who they were. They knew who they were. Um,
see, even that take right there, that's a right. That's what I'm talking about when I say we got to deal with each other righteously. It's folks that'll absolutely sit up here and tell you the opposite of what you said, and that's the problem that we have.
yeah.
When you ask me about the other groups, like a lot of
Mhm.
times, um, and I don't want to belabor this point, but a lot of times the other groups are anti-African, specifically on a religious basis, when none of it. Okay, this part is just my own personal. None of it really matters in the right now or in the my daughter's future, right? Those children that have not been born yet should not go through the things that we go through and our ancestors went through. It just should not occur based on nobody's uh, thought process, belief system, or anything like that. Like it just shouldn't happen, and we should work together to put up every safeguard to stop that from happening.
Right. Just to add on that, a lot of those people that speak against it, because I remember when I first became a Christian, and I just was this like one of those types that was critical of everything that was wrong.
Right, right.
And but I wasn't studying like that either. So then I come to a realization to start reading this thing. I was always reading the Bible, but I never tried to read it for understanding. I was just reading it because I was told to read it. And so I came to a realization, like, let me just really read. Let me really study. And not only did I study the Bible, I studied different sciences and history and stuff like that, just going through college and stuff. And
Hmm.
so a lot of people, they just repeat what their teachers or their the teachers are teaching them. You know what I'm saying? They're not really doing their own studying. They're not really getting their own self-awareness to really understand what's really going on. So,
Right.
I'm just here, just like you here, and I'm glad that you're here to speak on some of these topics here, because our goal is to not put them down, but bring them up to a higher level of understanding, right?
Yep, exactly. And not even to even say a higher level of understanding, because I don't even want to insult nobody like that. As long as people is on us coming together and being right, like, man, believe what you want to believe over there. That's okay. That's
Mhm.
fine. But when it's time, like, like I'm on my cartoon thing, man. You see when the Thundercat symbol go up, bro, we gotta come through. Just for
Mhm.
no other reason, man. Bring every uniform, all the different uniforms we got. Yes, come all together. If that would happen more often, everything would stop. All of
It'll
the bad
shut
things.
everything down.
It
Everything.
would. It absolutely would.
It seemed like you be answering my questions before I get to it, because the next question was, how important is the role of community in fostering the sense of Black nationalism, especially among the youth?
Well,
You already said
um,
that.
that's okay because I got another answer for that too. Um, so I always say, not even me, we as a people ancestrally have always said it takes a village to raise a child. Okay.
Right.
So my question has always been, where is the village?
Hmm.
If we look around in our respective cities, towns, countries, do we have a way to raise our children together? Are we
Hmm.
putting them through rites of passage as a community, or are we allowing them to just be taught? I mean, I'm a product of television myself, but Are we allowing our children to just be raised by social media and the streets, or do we have a plan? Have we come together and put together a plan? That's all I want to know. And when I ask questions like that, people generally be like, "Damn, we really didn't." And that's fine because you can't fault nobody for not considering something that they just didn't consider. But now, whoever's listening to this, where is the village? And if you don't see it, I think it was Maya Angelou or one of them. If it's a book that you want to read and it's not out there, you got to write it. And so if it's a
Hmm.
village that you want to see that's supposed to raise our children, right, you got to build it. What is your participation in building the village for our children? Or are you actually worthless to our race? Now, when
Hmm.
you really ask that question, like, what good are you to us as a people? Like, I'm for real too. Like, it's no game. What good are you to our people? It's not about you to your own personal nothing. People preach that nonsense all the time. But the reality of it is, you see them doing for themselves. When self reliance and doing for self is not talking about you as an individual, it's talking about us as a people. My bad. You're going to get me to
You sure
preaching.
you sure you ain't no preacher?
I'm sorry.
I want to start clapping my hands and get the Holy Spirit up here.
Now,
Okay.
this is what I do though. I mean, because unification is the plan for our people, and it's the only solution. And I've been doing this for a while now, so yeah, I do. I've had some experience in a quote unquote pulpit.
Okay. Um. So I think this kind of sound repetitive, but I'm gonna ask, what initiatives have you seen that successfully engaged the community in this process?
Um, well, each individual UNIA division usually has a publication, so they have like a little newsletter that goes around. They all of them have some sort of community involvement. There's no way for me to rattle them all off, but California division, I gotta link you with them. I know
Mm.
they did. Now I just drew a blank. I can't remember what they did for the King. They gonna kill me. Okay, moving on.
Yes.
Chicago division, Chicago division is major. If you ever see those videos with New Era, right, when the New Era brothers is out there and they protested and shutting down the stores and stuff like that, it's usually
Mm,
New Era Detroit, but the New Era Chicago team is part of the UNIA. Um, so they do that. They have the library there. Their youth division is very strong. The Baltimore division, big up them. Uh, they do a lot of outside work, so they do a lot of like park events where they reach out to the community and out there in the public so they can be seen, right?
mm,
Um, all and again, everybody's got publications that they put out, so look for your local UNIA. I'm a member of 421 Atlanta division. Big up President John, Lady President Raevany. We do some stuff with the youth. They got a lot of work that they do in the public, uh, share, joint efforts with other community groups, in an effort to do what I was just saying, like just unification and teaching the fact that we're supposed to be together. Like you see the red, black, and green flag everywhere, but not all the
mm,
time you see people teaching what it's about. And primarily, it's about us being together and underneath that flag. When people say, "Hey, where the Black Nationalists at?" You see that flag, you're supposed to just already know. Um, so the integration of the imagery and people starting to learn more because we starting to be a little bit more public now over the last, I say, 6 or 7 years.
mm. So now I'm going to talk about your circulum. I can't even never pronounce this word. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Curriculum.
Curriculum. Thank you.
Mhm.
Your curriculum. How do you approach curriculum development to ensure it reflects Black nationalist principles?
Okay, so I haven't attacked it at that uh, at that level, like
Mm,
developing curriculum for a school.
mm,
My thing has been predominantly speaking at schools and trying to influence, hopefully, someone who can create a curriculum to develop. I've had teachers reach out to me
mm,
to, for what I would say like counseling session where they would, if they have questions where they want to, make sure they shore up some information for their presentation for Black History or Kwanzaa event or whatever.
mm,
Um, but the key to all of this Black history is you have to have an honest approach. Um, a lot of times, again, for whatever reasons, a lot of times it's religious, but for whatever reasons, we have our own biases when going into Black nationalism. We look
mm,
at what famous anti-Garveyites said about Black nationalism.
mm,
And because they're famous and because they're the ones that you see every Black History Month, we say, oh, well, let's listen to them. And so now Garvey must have been wrong. When
mm.
in reality, the ones that sold Garvey
Um,
out are the ones to get promoted. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
right, right, right. Um, no, I was just thinking like about all of those, like Garvey, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, those that was before us. Um, where do you think they went wrong? Like if they did, and then where do you think they went right in their activism?
Hmm. Well, first of all, everybody's human and people gonna make mistakes. People will have to understand that too when looking back through history. Um, so there were several mistakes that Garvey made. I would say some of the most glaring were not having more trustworthy people. I mean, obviously he did what he could with what he had, but specifically in the accounting of the Black Star Line, because that's where they were able to, do damage to the ships and try and siphon money and things like that, which caused later problems. But foresight Foresight would have been awesome in that situation, but obviously looking back on it, you can't fault him for not knowing. Malcolm X, again, same type of situation. He was a bit too cocky at the end. I think he sort of assumed it was coming specifically that evening, and and just sort of let it happen. I think if he was a little bit more guarded, um, he might have been able to be out here a little bit longer. Let's just say Martin Luther King is a little tricky. Um, I tend to adhere to the Robert. I can't think of his name. The Negroes with Guns, Robert F. Williams
Mm.
philosophy, where if you look at the same time when Robert F. Williams was doing his campaigns versus the places where Martin Luther King was doing his campaigns, there was more violence against Black people in the Martin Luther King areas because they were accepting in a nonviolent way, they were accepting the violence that was put upon them. When Robert F. Williams and his team were standing against the violence violently or physically, they were standing against it, and therefore there was none. And I think the bold stance would have been a good choice for us at that time, specifically because the quote unquote civil rights movement, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, and all of them,
Mm.
people always call that the nonviolent movement, etc. But
Mm.
you know, they were always armed. People don't talk about that because maybe people don't know about it. But they had guns just about every time, right? So
Mm.
what is it? The Selma March, the sit-ins at the counters, the famous ones, anyways, not the smaller ones, but at the bigger ones, you know, it's guns everywhere,
Right.
just in case things went left. When in fact, what you could have done was make sure the nonsense never happened. And I think that's a mistake because I mean, I'm not talking about you have to go around shooting people or nothing like that, but
Mm.
presenting a physical visual imagery
Mm.
of defense and we not going for nothing over here would have stopped a lot of things. And now, because of those warriors that was willing to stand up are now either dead or in jail, you know what I'm saying? Now all we got left is the folks that's out here. And I don't see a whole lot of strong knees willing to stand up for our folks.
Do you think that we're currently in a war?
Yeah, yeah. So, people think of war like just bombs and guns and things, but it's psychological warfare. There's economic warfare. There's health warfare.
Yeah,
There's
biological.
lawfare.
Hmm.
What'd you say?
I said biological warfare.
Yeah, yeah.
Because when you were talking about the guns, right, and I was
Hmm.
thinking, because I always think like there's more than one weapon than a gun, you know.
It sure
And
is.
I remember when I was a little girl, my grandmother had this plant in her house, and I loved that plant. I used to water it all the time. I didn't know why, I just loved the plant. So when I got older, I wanted to get a plant just like that. Kind of find out the name of the plant is called a dumb cane plant. And what they do is they used to give it to African Americans or Africans or people that was part of because the slave trade really was a prisoner of war type of situation. But they
Hmm.
would give the dumb cane to them, and what that plant would do would make them, hmm, I guess you would say, literally dumb for a few minutes or more, to the point
Oh,
where they could
wow.
be captive. Yeah, ain't that interesting?
It definitely
It's that
is.
big leafy, it's that big green leafy plant everybody grandma had. I know you know the plant. It's
Let
the
me get
big
my
leaf. Huh?
let me get my pen and paper out real quick. I spell that again? How you say that?
I'm finna bring the plant out for you. I'm gonna put it on the screen.
That's
It's
good.
called a dumb cane. I think a dumb cane.
On the other side of that, my grandmother used to have the aloe plants, right? And every time I used to
Mm-hmm,
get a cut, she would hit me with the aloe plant. That was a
mm-hmm,
neosporin back in the day.
mm-hmm. And still is today. People just don't want to use it no more, and it's good for your digestive system as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just, and I did a small little snippet on my TikTok because I am an Hebrew Israelite, so I do scripture. I'm sorry to say, but one of my favorite scriptures is, "Our people are destroyed because of lack of knowledge." So if we knew the knowledge of certain herbs and certain things, this is the dumb king. See it?
Oh, that's what that's called. My grandmother did have that.
I know everybody grandma had that plant. Everybody grandma had that plant. And you chew that plant, you done for a few, like 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It was
So
used
what? So that's what happened to me in 6th grade, huh?
Huh? That's what happened?
no,
Did you chew the plant?
I'm just playing.
Oh yeah. So yeah. So I was just saying that. Then I was thinking about some years ago when Tariq Nasheed was talking mess about the girls twerking during like a protest or whatever, and they up there shucking and driving. But I was thinking too, in most wars, they send the women to do the final deed. You know what I mean? The woman could be the best key to use when you're in the battle, when you're in war. So I was just thinking like that when you were talking about certain things. I'm sorry, I just got off track. But let me
No, you
ask you.
good. Before you go to the next thing, don't
Mm,
forget it. I would just say to the dancing at a protest.
mm,
I've been to several. We don't protest. You know what I'm saying? We have gone to do security. But I've been to several, and I've seen people dancing and stuff, and it's like looking at it. It takes away from what you're supposed to be out here doing.
mm,
Now, if perchance it was, let's just say it was a tribal thing, and we wanted to make sure we showed a certain thing, and we literally had the women go out there and dance in the front line.
mm.
What then? Again, going back to what I was saying earlier, what was the plan? Like, did you have a
Distraction.
plan?
Oh, they
Right.
didn't have a plan.
No, I hear what you're saying. No, I know what you're saying.
Oh,
But I'm
well,
saying
it could be used
for
to
these
distract
protests,
the enemy, right?
right, but for these
Um,
protests and other things, what are you doing? What was your plan to even go outside? You know? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a girl thing though. I think most men don't understand the twerking thing. It ain't even for y'all, really. It's really for women, and it's a communication tool that women use amongst each other, which normally signifies like some type of triumph, or you know what I mean? Like it's always about like I did it. It's like a happy dance, you know.
No, I get that. All I'm
Uh,
saying is let's make it add it to a coordinated effort or
mm,
something. We're not
right,
just doing it randomly because you shouldn't be celebrating if we didn't win. Check.
right. Um, what role does media representation play in shape? You answered this already, but you already done answered 1,000 of my questions. But I'm asking them anyway.
Let's
What
go.
role does media representation play in shaping young people's view on Black nationalism?
It's integral for me personally to see specifically cartoons, to see black cartoons, right? It was awesome. Static Shock. Like when I saw the little black boy with dreads. What are you talking about? What on TV? A cartoon? And he's
Mm,
a star? What? I was locked in. As a matter of fact, big up Dwayne McDuffie. He passed away. Rest in peace to the brethren.
mm,
He created that entire milestone thing
mm,
for representation for us. And
mm,
Garvey told us a long time ago, propaganda is the biggest tool used against us. But we we're us. We supposed to be able to use whatever tool for us. So if we can't harness the power of propaganda for the betterment of our people, again, what good are we? So propaganda and media go hand in hand. We
mm.
know we need our own form of representation. Have you ever heard of Dr. Claude Anderson?
Oh yes,
So you know about his 5-tier building.
yes.
Media is key. If you can't talk to your people, what we doing right now, if you can't communicate to your people, what are you doing? you know? And then if we're not all working together, like you see how pick up the OG DMG trying to create the network, right? Trying to create a network. If we're not building a network, we're not on our way to building an industry. You know, what is, like, again, everything is, what is the goal? And if the goal isn't large scale industrial uplift, we got the wrong goal. We got to start over. Go back to the drawing board.
Well, that was the next question. How can we improve media representation? Honestly, I mean, but you already answered that.
But
So
you doing it. You doing it. Big up Meika. You doing it right now. Mouth off.
thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. What do you think when we were talking about the media representation too? I know that they were talking about this new revamp of Good Times on Netflix. Have you heard about it?
I thought they was playing. They really doing that?
It's on there now. You haven't seen it
Oh.
yet.
Now I don't really do Netflix, but so I wouldn't have seen it.
Uh,
Wow. No. Yeah, I don't. I won't be watching that.
oh yeah, I've heard some mixed emotions about that, but we're gonna move on to the next question.
Yeah. I'll just
You-
say, Good Times, when it was on, was excellent for what it was for, right? It was representation. It was a full family where you didn't see that. The father was there, and it was, and so that was excellent. Um, it went off too soon, and that's why people probably want to see it again. But I'm not interested because the situational comedy that they had at this point in time would be demeaning, I think.
I haven't watched the new revamp. It's a cartoon. Um, I don't know if it's like baby kids or nothing. I've seen like pictures of it, so I don't really know what it's about. um, but just thinking about Good Times, Sanford and Son, the Cosby Show, and all that. How did you think that represented us?
Um, well, those were some legends too. Like Red Fox, people don't understand what he did for black media, black actors, black comedy. Behind the scenes. Bill Cosby too. Um, like the doors that they broke down so black people could be seen as something other than step and fetch it on a larger scale. Richard Pryor, you know, kicking down doors. Moms Mabley. You know who Moms Mabley is?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, they did a documentary on her. Like, yo, those is pioneers, man. Folks that forced their way into a public, like that documentary on Moms Mabley. They talked about the Chitlin circuit, right?
Oh, I was gonna ask you about that earlier. You know that?
Well,
Oh,
okay.
everything I love. I was gonna ask you about the chitlin circuit because I literally, I promise you, I've been wanting to like do something like that again. You
Yeah,
know?
well, well, I think some of the comedians sort of have that going now.
Mm.
But just in general, we need that. Like, you know what I mean? Um, and just for those who don't know, the Chitlin Circuit was the tour route that all of the black artists back in the, what was it, 20s, they would go around on that specific route, to the different clubs that were welcoming to black audiences. And obviously there was some smaller, it was a good representation in like the Five Heartbeats when they went to that little hole in the wall.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But I think that the chitlin circuit should go further than just entertainment. I think that it should be a place of communication where it's not on social media or it's not on television or any type of media where it's a face to face communication amongst our people as to kind of unite better. You know what I'm saying? Without them,
absolutely.
without the others knowing exactly what we know, because we keep
Absolutely.
telling them, we keep giving them the game. I'm so mad at Snoop Dogg for telling everybody what the pig Latin words were and all that. So
Yeah. Well, that's what the okay, well, when people think about Garveyism and Garveyites, they always think back to the old days. We still here. But when you picture what the mass meetings were back in the day,
mhm,
um, from those, they would have jazz meetups, card game, not card games. What do they call it? When people got together and played cards back then, it was something else, card party or something, you know.
Mm.
And then they would hire the local musicians, you know what I'm saying, and they would go all out, you know what I'm saying. And that was basically what you were just describing. You know, it was an
Oh,
internal thing, like basically the after parties. It wasn't actual after parties. Don't nobody quote me on that, but I'm saying, right? So like the mass meetings would be happening, and these people were coming from around the world, so they would all get together and, socialize, and that type of thing. Like you said, it needs to come back. We do it. We do it now on a small scale, and I'm sure other pockets of groups do that type of thing. The idea now is for us, like I said, we got to sew it together, put it
mm.
together like a puzzle, so we can see the bigger picture. Come on, Mika, I'm over here preaching, girl. You quit playing, man.
So let's go to the next one. How does Black nationalism address issues of intersectionality, such as gender, sexuality, social economic status within the Black community?
To be honest, we're not developed to have actually a plan for everything yet, right? Everybody has their ideas of what we would do if we were here in this situation, but we need to be at a place of, like, we're gonna always be growing and building, but we need to be at a more stable place before we start really making those type of proclamations, because we run a risk of causing division unnecessarily, if that makes
Mm,
sense.
right.
um, Black nationalism has nothing to do with your sexuality, with your religion, with your, it really don't have nothing to do with your political affiliation, unless your political affiliation is anti Black nationalism. You feel me?
Mm, mm,
Um, because that is the only goal, is Black people as a whole being uplifted. So the other things, the nuances. Now, mind you, we do have a constitution. We, the UNIA, has a constitution, and there are rules and regulations, etc. Um, but that is already in stone. So moving forward, it's really about us coming together first, and then we can all sit down and discuss what those future parameters will be.
Okay, because that was my next question. What is your long term vision for the future of Black nationalism, especially in education?
I mean, so a lot of time, okay, so Khalid Muhammad said something like, as a
That's
matter
my
of fact,
boy. I
I
love
was
him.
just getting ready to say, when
If
he,
I was his age, I would have married that man. I would have.
so when he was dealing with the Republic of New Africa, as a matter of fact,
Mm-hmm.
he was like, yes, a land of our own,
Mm-hmm.
right? A nation of our own. So yeah, that would be, um, a sovereign nation that was not under any colonial control. Um, that would be ideal. Um, Without that, we are sovereign wherever we are. Um, Therefore, we are the nation. We do have a headquarters. The UNIA has a headquarters in Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
our international headquarters. So as far as land ownership, that's at least, our solid base. But we as a people are that. But the goal would be to, um, even if we never had a land mass under a nation's title,
Mm-hmm.
right? We can still be the nation and rise socio politically, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to get with you outside this interview because you're making me think about some stuff.
Holla at me.
Okay. How can how can educators and policymakers support this vision?
E- Educators that are in public school systems right now can allow Black history to be taught. That alone would be enough. um, policymakers, other educators outside the public school system need to build our own school system.
Mm.
Policymakers can only make policy based on their constituency.
Mm.
So Malcolm X again has a quote where he's talking about, I can't remember it exactly, but he's talking about creating the politician to vote for, as opposed to waiting to see who's going to run. We have to have that village create the actual politician that would be qualified for the position that we as a nation about to put him in or her in. That is the system that all other groups deal with. They make sure that their children go through the rites of passage, that they have the right credentials, that they have the right resources. They'll sacrifice everything to make sure that one child gets what it's supposed to get. So when they get to a certain point, they can fulfill their destiny. Okay? But we have to have that planned thing for our politicians. So when they run, they win, and then they do the thing that we put them in place to do. So, and that's if we're even dealing with the politics in these countries, because we have our own politics, right? We can do a lot of things that we need to do on our own without the governments of these places that we are domiciled. They don't even know what we're doing half the time. So all we have to do is create, build, prepare, plan, and execute.
Right. Speaking of the policymakers, because I was thinking about Ice Cube's contract with Black America. And what did you think about his approach on that? He said it was a bipartisan issue. So he went to both parties to present his contract with Black America. And he got black backlash because the only one of the two parties that was willing to sit down with him was Trump. How do you feel about that?
Well, from what I remember, I remember it was the other side said that they would meet with him after the election. Correct?
Hmm. Right. The
Have,
liberals.
Have you seen that happen yet?
No.
Have you seen Ice Cube say anything about that yet?
Yes, he has talked about it.
Really?
That's
I
because
was
I
looking
follow Ice Cube.
because I was looking and I didn't. What do you say?
They still have. He mentioned the fact that they still haven't sat down with him, so he's feeling a way about that.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, they never sat down to meet with him ever again, and he has tried to come to them after the election.
mm,
I wish I could bring it up. You
mm,
want me to find the video?
Not necessarily, but I
Oh,
mean, yeah. You know what? You ain't got to do it on the show, but definitely I would like to see it. My issue with that is, you remember how public it was though when he
yeah,
came
it's
out?
very public.
Okay. And the fact that you have to go find it right now is my point.
Mm-hmm.
So you remember when Hillary had the hot sauce in her purse?
Mm-hmm.
hmm Now,
Yeah.
isn't it an interesting thing that you're gonna name your plan the Platinum Plan as a rapper that already glorified Donald
Wait,
Trump
wait, wait,
before?
wait. Trump. That's two different things. Trump named his plan the Platinum Plan. Um,
hmm
and he incorporated the because Ice Cube's plan, what Ice Cube did is he had some people write up for him the
hmm
contract with Black America,
Yes,
and okay, and then so that's his, but then
the
Trump is
Platinum
the
Plan,
one that wrote the Platinum Plan,
right?
right?
So let's just say
Mm,
Ice Cube was genuine
mm,
in his goals.
mm,
The moment you see the Platinum Plan come out,
mm.
that don't give you the same vibes as the hot sauce in the purse. What about the sneakers that Homeboy came
Oh
out with?
yeah, I was about to bring up the sneakers too.
Right. So like the moment I saw, I think the backlash that Ice Cube got was, what is you even doing? There is no sense in asking this fool for anything. Because if the fool give you something, it's you are now you don't take nothing from people that's anti your race.
Mm.
Check. And why would you expect something from him?
Mm.
I'm not saying the other side would have been any better,
Mm.
but you know that fool ain't never been for black people ever and would only use that as a hot sauce in his purse.
Mm.
That's the only reason as far as I'm concerned, the only reason it was as public as it was
Mm.
because it was a publicity stunt. Now, Ice Cube, if he had a contract with, with Black America, between the government and Black America,
Mm.
now the Black nationalist point of view is where it's at. Let's do it anyway. Like whatever the plan is, like let's just fucking make it happen. This, it, do you know how much money Ice Cube and his friends have?
Mm.
How much you look what you have done with the amount of money that you have. Look what
Mm.
DMG has done with the amount of money that he has.
Mm.
Imagine if Ice Cube and three of his friends, damn the ones that we can name,
Mm.
just three of his pals.
Mm.
Imagine what could be built, could be done for the future races that have not been born yet. So
Mm.
I'll be real cautious about,
Celebrity.
oh yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
also, since we on the topic, it's controversial enough already.
Mm.
Lest we forget the change in the media reception of black people damn near is Ice Cube fault.
What? Say that. Yeah. Why? Why you say that?
Okay, I will.
Mm.
I'm not gonna ask you your age, but you sound like you remember Queen Latifah coming out.
Mm. You and IT. Why?
You betcha. U
Mm.
N I T Y was the first song you thought of.
Mm.
Unity. That's what
Mm.
was on the radio airwaves. God damn it, it was number one.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Niggas with attitudes happened. And listen, I'm guilty of it as well.
Mm.
I used to bang they joints too.
Mm.
However, had we not had that era,
Mm.
we would be in a different place. You look at
Ah.
the radio, think about what was playing. Think about what was playing. Think about if we as a people said we'd have never allowed shooting each other to be on the radio the way that the other races do, because you don't hear them doing that, right? If we'd have kept UNITY, we'd have kept X Clan, we'd have kept Public Enemy, we'd have kept all them pushing. It would have been an uplift mindset pumping through the waves. The propaganda would have been different. The
Mm.
representation would have been different. The media perception, from black people and from others, would have been different. The perception from Africans, because remember we was talking about Africans and how they perceive us here.
Mm.
A lot of the ones that do hold a negative attitude, it's because of the music and movies and TV shows that's put out that we can't wait to be in and help promote. Check.
Mm.
Yet, when we put out something conscious, where it's really talking about uplifting our people,
Mm.
um, you do not see the village.
So I guess that's mostly like a East Coast and West Coast type of thing because I'm from the West Coast, and
Hmm.
so when that came out, I was
Hmm.
probably like 8 years old, but I knew every lyric, and it wasn't really played on the radio because it couldn't get played on the radio most of the
Hmm.
songs, and
Hmm.
it was like it wasn't about killing each other. It was about killing the oppression. Most of their music was about the oppression and the police brutality that we were facing out here a lot of times. So when you
Mm.
really listen to their music, it was mostly about that. Now, when it comes to Easy E and what he was saying in his life and how he had to live, that's just how a lot of West Coast people can identify with that because that was the culture here. It was a horrible culture. Growing up in the 80s out here was horrible. It was
Yeah,
horrible. I had
yeah.
to duck so many bullets being out here. Um, so I
No,
think it's
I get that. I'm not saying that that wasn't a reality, and I definitely remember the conversation when they were getting interviewed, them saying that no, it's really not that, and they would play lyrics to prove the point that you just made, and so I get it.
mm,
However, when
they
you
were
think about if you
angry
think
black
about
men. Uh,
gangster rap, if
mm,
you put them in quotes and say what is gangster rap, and you try and find the beginning of it,
mm,
that's all I'm saying. So like it could be at some point you even come back out as an OG
mm,
and not apologize, but like rectify, right? Like
mm.
the movies and stuff was cool, but now you're just an entertainer at this point. Where is the rectification of the culture thing? Because
Mm.
true indeed, it did start off. I agree with what you said about that, but you know what it morphed into. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but then you gotta attribute some of that stuff to Wu-Tang Clan because they were talking about putting people in chambers and stuff, and I still don't know what they were talking about.
Well, Wu Tang Clan, they was crazy, but they was that's a okay. Since we're there, uh, that's another problem because the chambers that they talking about was it was a play on one of the kung fu movies,
Mm,
36 Chambers of Death,
mm,
and they promoted Chinese culture.
mm,
So everything that they promoting is the Asiatic black man, not
mm,
from Africa, from Asia,
mm.
right? 5 percenter ideology, which is sneakily divisive. But if you're not paying attention, everything is cool until you start really listening, and you're like, "What? What'd you just say? Asiatic? What did that mean?"
Right.
Yeah,
Uh,
man.
I get upset when people say that Asiatic black man. I'll be like, you ain't no Asian. No, I'm joking. Okay,
You
now.
would not, but you'd be surprised with how many of them. Listen, if the 5 percenters and the Nation of Islam follow the Asiatic black man mentality, um, and that's just what it is. Like you look at what is it? P Funk All Stars. George Clinton and the P Funk
Mm,
All Stars. Yeah, that whole alien thing.
yeah.
That's yeah, Nation of Gods and Earth. Um, Erica Badu, Busta Rhymes, Wu Tang. Remember she said we were born underwater with $3 and six
I was
dimes.
born on the water with
Yeah,
$3 and 6 dimes, something like that.
yeah.
I
Remember them?
thought she
That's
was talking about the
360.
666. Ain't she talking about the 666 Stardust thing?
Mm-mm.
No.
Born underwater. You heard people talk about marine law.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
okay,
and
so born
currency
in water.
and cash
That's
flow and all that
well,
stuff.
born in water is sovereignty, right?
Mm,
Because the water is the first everything, and we the first people come from the water. 300.
mm,
Remember, she said $3 and 6 dimes
mm,
is 360 degrees of knowledge.
mm.
This is the mathematics, fam. You got to know your mathematics, sister.
Oh, I didn't even count it. Sure, I thought she was talking about the Stardust.
That's what I'm saying. They sneaky with it. And then when you rebellious and black, you find that little lingo and a little secret conversation. It's like, oh, okay, that's dope. That's what's up. Allah means arm, leg, arm, head, fam. What's your mathematics? Which is cool. My thing is, as long as you about us being okay, I'm about it. But
Mm,
again, it is an interesting problem to teach about an Asiatic black man because that's separating you from our. Even if you don't adhere to an African heritage, you know what I'm saying. We should have had more representation about Africa throughout our history, and we didn't have enough. Specifically with that rap situation, the Pan African conversation died out really fast, and gangster rap just took off. Ratchet rap
um,
took off.
uh, it's so many types of rap. I can talk about Ti and his trap music. Now that was talking, and then Then you got what's his name? The Ice. What's his name? Lord Jesus, I can't think of these rappers' name right now. The one that talk about the snowman dude,
Oh
Jeezy. Is
yeah,
that
Jeezy.
Jeezy?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he was part
The
of
one that
that
got his hair.
BMF thing. And anyway, we don't have to talk about the music part another time. Let's see. Let me get to this next question. And we didn't even promote the debate. Can you like just give us a little snippet about that and what and your role in the upcoming debates with the paradigm shift and the whole effing show?
Oh, absolutely. Salute, brother DMG. Salute, Craig and Craig Law Firm. Um, Paradigm Shift and the whole effing show is putting on a six-man tag tournament. Let's go. A six-man tournament. Um, I intend on winning the entire thing. I told them all they might as well just stay home and give me the belt. But they're gonna probably show up, so I'm gonna have to knock their heads off. It's a religious debate tournament. I'm coming in as an atheist.
Mm.
My first victim, I mean, my first opponent. Uh,
You bet it right, victim.
will be his topic. You might find this interesting.
What's the topic?
Yeah, I was gonna say you might really find this interesting as a Hebrew Israelite.
Mm,
He um he told me he's going to be able to provide sufficient evidence
mm,
for a higher power,
mm.
specifically the Christian God.
Okay.
Mhm. So I am on the opposite side of that. I don't
Mm.
think he's going to be able to show me that, and this would be a very interesting thing
One
if
thing
he
that
could
I
pull that shit
don't
off.
do is debate atheists about God, and because then I have to ask you, what would be sufficient sources and what would be sufficient evidence? Would it be archaeological evidence? What would you know? Because like
Mhm.
I could bring archaeological evidence, I could bring all these evidence, but at the same time, it'll be like talking to a brick wall if you don't if you reject the evidence. You know
Well,
what I mean?
i- that, so the question is, do you believe a thing or not? Right?
Mhm,
So if I was to bring you sufficient evidence of a thing,
mhm.
you don't have a choice whether you believe it or not, because you have sufficient evidence. Now, I'm not gonna go too deep into that because I don't want to get into any argumentation to get us.
Nah, don't start arguing, but I just would want to know what would be sufficient evidence.
No, no,
And
no. I'm saying I don't want to answer that too deep because I don't want to get into my argumentation for the debate. I don't want to give
oh,
them no ammunition.
okay, don't give him no
But
ammunition.
I will say
Mm,
sufficient evidence. If he has it,
mm,
it'll be awesome.
mm,
And if it's there, I'll be able to believe it. It shouldn't even be a problem. Like if you was to say I'm wearing glasses right now, and I'm like, no, you ain't, and you turn on the camera and be like, look, and I'm like, oh snap, you really are wearing glasses. Boom.
mm,
I can't not believe that you're wearing glasses once I see it.
mm,
So once I see his sufficient evidence, we should be good.
mm.
Um, there's a couple other ideologies in the debate. I think I don't think I know everybody's position.
Are you
Um,
so you're on a team?
no, it's a individual, six individual in a tournament,
Mm.
and one winner. There's a belt um, that I intend on winning. And oh, I know brother Zion Morechild is in it. He's a Rasta.
I know Brother
Um,
Zion. I heard his stuff. I heard his spiel before.
mhm.
Mm.
Let's see. Uh, I know Sakori is in it. Uh, like I said, this dude that I'm debating, he's a Christian.
Who are you
Um,
debating?
uh, Jamel J. Fax Lashley.
I don't know who
Lashley.
that is.
Lashley.
JJ7?
No.
Oh no, I don't know who that is. I haven't interviewed him yet. I've interviewed Takari, and I think DMG had an interview with Zion, and Zion was giving the spiel um about his Rastafarian background.
Right.
Yeah,
Did you see the?
go ahead.
I was gonna say, did you see the God is light debate, the 3-on-3?
I missed it because and I was supposed to be on it. I was supposed to be there. I missed it because I had a loss in the family,
I'm
and
sorry to hear.
man, I wanted to be. Man, I was so ready for that debate. I'm so sad that I missed it. I need to go back and watch it because who won? Who do you think won?
It was close. I because it was very close. I'm gonna go ahead and say I think Dream Team did what they were supposed to do in
Mm,
that debate.
mm.
Um, yeah.
Naga. And what about Naga?
I mean, I felt like because I was sort of biased. First of all, you gotta understand. Um,
Mm,
I was sort of a Dream Team. I don't want to say I was on the Dream Team, but we were supported, sort of a supporter of the Dream Team, right?
oh, okay.
So I was sort of biased the whole time. So I'm not even sure if I paid attention enough to really say who won because I was just
Mm.
all way like, nope, Dream Team win.
Yeah, I mean, I interviewed was it Darian? Darian.
Darian.
And
Yep.
so, yeah. And then I played their little diss tracks they had. It was so funny.
Oh, I got diss tracks. Why you ain't tell me you gonna play diss tracks? I got joints.
Oh yeah. If you wanted me to, you guys just send them to me in the inbox. I'll put it up here.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah, I played the little diss tracks and stuff they had. It's so funny. I love that stuff, man.
yeah.
Uh
That's the fun part to me. All of this stuff, the debate thing is like a stress relief for me. And since the tournament took so long to come about, it was fun for me to create just to sit there and make songs for no reason.
right.
I'm
Yeah,
about to
if you
send you my whole
inbox it to me,
discography.
if you inbox it to me right now, I can pull it up and put it on the show right now. Uh
Let's go.
let me ask you a question though. Okay, I asked you that. I was gonna ask, how can young people get involved in Black nationalist movements and initiatives?
Um, well, first of all, I would say link up with an organization, not even just the UNIA. Find an organization that's doing some sort of Black history, teaching Black culture, and because everybody needs to start somewhere, right?
Mm,
If you already connected to stuff like that, but you want to make it and you want to develop it more into a Black nationalist conversation, you can definitely reach out to me, Sister Meika. I just sent you the UNIA link. You can
okay.
reach out to any UNIA division that's close to you, and they'll try and
Mm,
guide you the right way. Um, we're not in every city. We're trying to get there. We are in a lot of cities, so we may be near where whoever's listening to this right now. We might be near you. Um, Also, you can do it yourself. You know what I mean? Start a study group. Come together and figure out a focal point that you want to study on and master it. Um, find a place in history. Start in that place and go either direction. Right? Go back further or come towards modern time and really get a grasp of what our people went through so you can understand you can develop the passion for making our people right, you know? Because the problem is, you know what I mean, we don't care because we don't know. You know what I mean? Emmett Till's mom said, she didn't really care about what was going on with Black folks around the world until something happened to her child, you know? And it's asinine for us to sit and wait for something to happen to us personally before we go out there and do something for the rest of our people. Um, like right now, and this is a wild ass statement to say, but I say it in speeches. But right now, people listening to this, you might have children, young cousins, nieces and nephews, right? If if you're not actively making sure that they are aware of racial issues, aware of Black history, aware of Black history with government and oppressive regimes, right? If you're not actively making sure they're aware of it, and building a thing to protect them from it. When something happens, hopefully it don't, but if something bad happens based on that, you can't be mad. It's our fault that bad things happen because we don't build a defense against it. And if we refuse to build a defense against it, you deserve what happens. And that's a wild thing to say. But we have to look in the mirror and realize that it's on us to create the future that we want for the people that have yet to be born. I'm sorry, I got the preaching again. I'm back.
All right, so I was gonna ask final thoughts, but no, I'm gonna play the diss track first.
Let's go.
Okay. I'm gonna turn the music on. I'm sorry. Let me start it over.
It's Demus.
Purchase your tracks today.
The man who let the dogs out ran into the pen and they ran back to their dog's house. Manifest a dumb master plan, the fucking tall mouth. Catch an intellectual hand smacking your dog's mouth, smacking your dogs out, kicking your doors out. Fact finding mission, rip your windows and your floors out. Mission of eviction, kicking you and your boys out. Anybody gets it after just for what the noise about. Hey, and that's how Papa Pan go. Pop up with a pan flow, asking, hey, where your mans go? Jack stars runners, Demus way too much to handle. Shots fire, rock, barking puppies, bodies land slow. Hey, let them fly like Rambo. Pseudos better watch out, I'll burn out your bando. Ha! Light flowing from the man, though I'm worse to show enough suckers wish you had a man. All this fucking loud and they ain't saying nothing. A million little puppies can't tell me nothing. All this barking loud and they ain't saying nothing. All this barking loud, all this barking loud, all this barking loud and they ain't saying nothing. A million little puppies can't tell me nothing. All this barking loud, all this barking loud. Hey, let's go.
Hello, yeah. Oh wow. All this barking loud and you ain't saying nothing.
Nothing.
I like that. So let me get to it. Like, any advice, or I think you gave some advice, but any advice or final thoughts?
Not really. No. To anybody that's about to face me in a debate, tuck your chin. As far as Black history, teach everybody. Like, it don't even matter. Teach them all. Everybody need to know our history, specifically our babies. If you see a child, smile at them. You might be the only smile that they see. And again, you have to take responsibility for our people on yourself. You know what I'm saying? So that right there is that's something I would give everybody. And race first, people.
Thank you so much, Mr. Demus, for sharing your insights and your experience with us today. It's been incredibly enlightening to learn more about Black nationalism and its impact on education. Your work is truly inspiring and important.
Thank you, sister. I appreciate that. And you too.
Thank you so much. And to our viewers, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Mouth Off with Meika. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Let's continue to engage, educate, and empower our communities. Until next time, I'm Meika Wash, and we are out of here.
Show who you are. Good riddance. Educated, bid the forbidden. As it was written, you overbidding. With the heathens, karma is a bitch, so how you living? Pray for my enemies, unforgiving. Cast the pearls on hog moms and chitlin'. If it's too hot, get your ass out the kitchen. finger licking good, good looking, stewing in the stew, I'm cooking.